Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to watch this interview session with our Metro Nashville Police Department Officer Jeff Hutt. Officer, we are very thrilled to have you here again today to talk about some popular questions, and hopefully we could get some answers from you. On the call today, we also have two of our Youth Volunteer Association members joining us as interviewer. They are James Han and Granger Wang. Welcome, James and Granger.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Nice seeing you guys.
Yeah. So this interview will probably last 45 minutes, depending on how long would be one question. But let's get started with the first question, shall we? So the first question we gathered and we wanted to ask Officer is, what I know earlier this year you formed an organization. It's called Office of Community Outreach and Partnership, and you're part of that organization. Could you introduce us what you do and what is the objective and vision mission of that OCOP organization?
That's correct. OCOP, which stands for Office of Community Outreach and Partnership, it was established by Chief John Drake when he made chief in November the 20th of 2020. This unit consists of a captain. His name is Captain Laura. Then we had a Lieutenant Beard, but Lieutenant just got promoted. Now he's a captain and he works over domestic. And below them, you had three sergeants. You had Sergeant Michelle Coker, Sergeant Derek Keeler, and Sergeant Noble Taylor. And then we had 10 officers that was selected throughout Metro for their diversity, their community outreach work. And this unit comprised of different officers that had different engagement niche in their community. And I am one of them, and I am with the Asian community. Our mission statement is to extend the department mission to all the communities, including underserved communities. A lot of times, the Asian people did not get looked at or get patrol and officers there because of different reasons. Department is to provide community-based police products to the public so they can experience a safe and peaceful Nashville. And also, in carrying out mission, members of the department will continue to value organizing excellence and professionalism, the impartial enforcement of the law, and the people we serve to serve and each other, problem solving and partnership, open communication, ethics, and integrity. And so what I do is I am with the Asian community, and here in Nashville, we have one of the largest Laotian population. We have one of the largest, also very big niche of Chinese, Philippine, Vietnamese, and we also have a group that is the refugees now that just came in within a couple of years, are the Burmese. So so that's why the chief has established this unit. It's so that these Asian community would have people that look like them, sound like them, could go into that community and open up that, bridge that gap between the Asian community and the law enforcement.
Thank you for answering the first question. I think that was in great details, and we know the mission and vision, so appreciate that. So that was followed by the second question I have is, since you are part of the OCOP organization now, could you let us know about your short-term and long-term plan of engaging the Asian communities overall? How would you serve the Asian communities?
Right. Right now, since it started in November, we had several months of, for me in a way, trying to hit all the Asian community. The short term is that what I do is I try to go to all the Asian temples, Asian churches, Asian business, meet through different organizations like the Greater National Chinese Association, the Tennessee Alliance, just any type of organization. What I do is at first is to try to establish a good communication, open dialects, and see what's going on with their community and what kind of help that we could do to try to solve issues that they have in their community. That's my short-term goals. A long-term goal, of course, is to develop a good connections, communication, set up Zoom meetings. What I want to do in the long term is have more dialogues, have more like training, teaching, different laws, different rules that could help out their communities, things to help them protect themselves, let them know what their rights are. Because a lot of times the Asian community are very kind of quiet, don't ask much. So what I want to do is reach out to them, reach out to the leaders in the churches, in the temples and the associations, and let them know that there's a lot of resource through our unit that can help them out, and vice versa. You guys could help me out and the department.
That sounds great, because I think that I would be super excited about knowing a more united Asian community, and by your outreach effort and partnership effort. So thanks for answering my second question. With that, can I add a little bit more?
Yes,
to that? Feel free. Sorry. Yes, please.
And so what I want to do is, because also in our department, we have a very low number level of Asian officer that's in our department. I could count maybe about 5 or 6 Asian officers in our unit. And I am the only Vietnamese Chinese officer that we have. Unfortunately, I only can speak Vietnamese. My dad can speak Chinese, but what I want to do on a long term is try to recruit more Asian Asian people, community to come on to become a police officer. So that way they can help out the community. It's me being in this unit for about 6 months. I noticed that it's a lot easier when I go to these business that are Asian and they see somebody like me and speak the same language or just look like them. They tend to open up a little bit more. They feel like they're a little bit more trusting, because here is somebody that looks like me, that could communicate with me, that understand what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So in the long term, what I want to try to do is get other people that look like me, sound like me, that speaks a lot of different language, the Chinese, the Vietnamese, the Cambodian, Philippine, Burma, and to come on board to Metro Nashville Police Department and come back and help out their community, to serve back in the community.
That sounds really grateful as well, because being a liaison between the MNPD, the Metro, and the Asian communities is really crucial. And if you say you want to recruit more Asian officers, the future Asian officers, that will be more sustainable to keep the community even safer down the road. So thank you for adding that to the question. With that, I would like to turn my mic to James. I know, James, you have a question to officer. Feel free to ask now.
Yes. So my name is James Hahn, and I go to Male Hyde Magnet School. I will be a junior in the fall. One of my questions is about anti-Asian violence. In 2021 and 2020, the news has reported a great deal of anti-Asian violence. What's the situation like in the Greater Nashville area, and what are the top issues?
Jane, that's a great question. And with the backlash from the previous president about the Chinese flu and things like that, and people being home, feeling like the blame was on the Asian people because of that. The number here in Nashville doesn't really show as far as a lot of the hate crime against Asian. And the reason why is because a lot of Asian people are underreporting this thing here in Nashville. People are not calling in when they are getting either verbal abuse or maybe taunted or just a lot of the hate verbal towards them. If we would have more Asian people know their rights by calling the police department, let know what is a hate crime, and so we could report that so that we could go try to have a better number to understand how is it here in Nashville. But unfortunately, we don't get a lot of call to the department, so we don't know the exact number of how many people are actually getting hated on here in Nashville.
Do you think that if the MNPD had more Asian officers, more Asian Americans would feel comfortable reporting their attacks to the police?
I agree with you 100%. I think that if we had more Asian officer here within the department that speaks the same language, because a lot of times, you know, the elderlies here, the Asian elderly folks here in Nashville, most of them only speak one language, is what we're originally from, either Chinese or Vietnamese, and they are less likely to talk to a person that only speaks English because the communication barrier, maybe from where they're from another country, they have a different outlook on officers. But if we have more Asian officers here, they would probably feel a little bit more comfortable of making those reports.
What would you say would be the top issues among Asian Americans in the greater Nashville area as of 2021?
The one I encounter here in Nashville, like I go to a lot of these businesses and stuff like that. A lot of them have issues like business. I go to a business, ask them what's going on, how can I help you? You know, what's some of the issues you have? A lot of times is that they have a communication issue when they call the police department. Well, for whatever reason, somebody broke into their shop, somebody didn't pay for their service, and they feel like they are not getting the help through the department because of the communication part. But we do have a thing now called the language line, which allows the people that doesn't speak a lot of good English, they could call that number and it would translate back to the officers so we could get a better reporting. But I think that's one of the things that I see the Asian community are having issue is the communication with our department. And we're trying to do better by having more Asian officers, language line, and just to help out with that smooth transition of communication.
Do you think that communication issues or fear of reporting their attack to the police would be a bigger cause of crime going unreported? Which one would be bigger?
You know, that's a very good question, because I do go to these places and a lot of them don't report a lot of crime too because of what you said. They're afraid that retaliation, if I report somebody who just, you know, didn't pay and then they get arrested, they feel like they're gonna come back to the shop and damage their business and hurt them. So it's a lot of different things with the Asian community, the communication, afraid of retaliation if they report it. And so that's why we need more Asian officer in this department to help out with the communication and then also help them when they are having issues. If we could try to explain to them, no, we are here to help you, okay? If you don't report this, the problem is that person will go to the next business or the next temple or church and cause the same issue. And so if you don't report stuff, things are going to keep happening more and more.
Talking about communication, I think these are really good questions, James, you asked. Thank you. And thank you also, officer, for your answer. I'm thinking about a broader communication which is shared among all the Asian communities. let's say what will happen, what is going to happen. Let's say, for example, what happened to one of the Asian communities, how would that be ensured to deliver to another groups, right? So what if I was a victim and then my situation will be translated and shared with other Asian communities so that they can prevent this from happening in the future?
Right, and that's a very good thing because with the Asian community, there's not just one, two, or three. You have multiple. I can name you probably about 10 off my head. You got the Vietnamese, the Chinese, the Cambodian, the Philippine, the Burma, the Indian, the Philippine, Korean. I mean, on and on and on. And so each different community speaks different language, different things, but we all, when it comes to category, we all Asian. So what I want to do is try to reach out to members like you, Prince, and other organization. And so we all could, this is the long-term goal, to try to get us all in the same circle. And so when something happened with Metro, I could disperse it to you. And then you could disperse it to your community, the Chinese community through your association. And I could send it out to the Burmese folks. So that's why right now, as the short-term goal is trying to reach out to as many as the organization, the top leaders, or the person that, or kind of like the leader in that community. And that way we could distribute all the information that we need to try to help out the Asian community. Because when one Asian person get assaulted, they don't go, well, I just assaulted a Chinese person. They just, to them, they just assaulted an Asian person. So that's why we need to have a better communication, better circle of all the Asian community together. So when something happened, we could disperse all the information to each one, and then they could disperse it to their community. And also it'd be great, like I said, if we could get more different Asian officers to come to the department, and that way it'd be a lot easier. Like if you have a Chinese officer, he could go to you and he's dispersed all the information there. Or he could even already translate it in Chinese for the Chinese folks. Me, I could do the Vietnamese, but we need other minorities of Asian in our unit.
Yeah, I think that sounds really like a firm plan in the long term that we want to gather. We want to have every community's representative in the circle. They call that circle, and serve as a point of contact. So it's more like the hub and spoke system. In the center, you have the information like a system, and it will distribute all the necessary information to the point of contact. The point of contact will distribute that information locally in their community, which is really a good network, I would say, to prevent any danger and or threat from being happened across Asian communities. Cool. Thank you, officer, for answering that. No, that leads me to think about the hate crime. So as for some reason I had a hate crime, I would like Granger to ask that question since he has some questions about the hate crime. Granger.
Hello, my name is Granger Wayne. I go to Brentwood High School, and I'm gonna be a rising senior. And recently, I've just been wanting to ask you, like, there's been around the U.S. There's been a spike in hate crimes, and I was just wondering if that was also the case in Tennessee, because in my stay in Tennessee, everyone was extremely nice to me, and I didn't really experience anything, but I wanted to know if there were these cases in other places of Tennessee. Right.
Like I mentioned earlier, I'm not saying it is not happening. I just know that it's not been reported. I know maybe a couple of occasions where somebody say derogatory racist comment to people, but as far as physical attack, if it is happening, it's not being reported. And that's the thing about here. And that's what I'm trying to do is hit some of these communities as a church and association, let them know that those things need to be reported. Just like James said earlier, I think a lot of times, a lot of the Asian community is not reporting it because afraid of retaliation. or a lot of, I know how my parents are like, they don't report it because they think that there's nothing to be done, or they don't want to have, be retaliated on. And then just like, don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it. I worry about other things. And so, but it is happening throughout the United States. There's a lot of incident where I think recently they had something in California where somebody got ran over, killed because of their race, Asian. And I know New York has one, and of course the big one down in Atlanta recently. So it is happening in the bigger cities. But the thing is, Nashville is becoming a big city. And that's why we need to have more representation within our department, and so that we can help out more of the Asian community here in Nashville or in Tennessee.
Thank you. So also I was wondering, so COVID-19 has affected a lot of people. So I was just wondering, has there been any changes in like your training, your meetings for the police, and how you deal with crime
Yeah.
through COVID-19?
Right. It has changed a lot, but also for the good and the positive, because with COVID, we do everything now, like in meeting wise, as far as Zoom and different other media outreach stuff. But I'm still kind of like the old school kind of person. I like to do up in person. I miss all these cultural events that we have, because I think that it's a big, huge thing for our Asian community is get together to celebrate. And I'm from a large family. Like we like to get together. We like to have parties and functions and stuff like that. I think that, I mean, as far as the emotional wise, physical emotion, I'd rather be around different people personally, meet them, talk to them, do different things. But as far as work goes, the thing is with COVID, what we haven't a lot now, even I see a lot of it with the Asian, especially the newer Burmans, is that the domestic stuff. We have a lot of domestic stuff because why you have the husband and the wife stays home, different issues and problems because maybe work-wise, they don't have a job, so you don't have things. You have domestic issue with the husband and wife arguing about money or just different things like that. So COVID does affect, a lot of things like that. I do see a rise in domestics. But as far as, and also, I think social too, it hurts students too. Because I know you guys rather be at the school, see your friends and hang out, do things, and sometimes just have that mask off, just feel. So hopefully next year you guys will be more in-person school versus virtual classes. Because I know my daughter goes to, well, she will be going to Brentwood next year, and hopefully it opens up a little bit more where she goes to class, because she does miss her friends also when she was at Brentwood Middle School. So, yeah.
Nice. So I was just wondering, since on 2020 and like the whole COVID thing, has crime rates gone up or has kind of like remained the same or gone down? And if it's gone like there, and which form of crime have increased and which form of crime has decreased?
Okay, that's a good question. I know that domestic, like I said, has gone up just because, you have more people at home, kids at home, just everybody at home. Sometimes, when you get with somebody for so long, things happen. Brothers fight with brothers, parents get in an argument through different reasons, either financially or other issues because they're there all the time. Well, we also have what has decreased is the traffic accident we have, because during the COVID, not a lot of people are going out and about, and so you didn't have as much traffic. Now as things get open back up though, traffic accident has gone increase because more people are going to work, more people out and about. So those are the things I could think of right now. But yes.
Thank you. On one last question to finish it up is if you were to say anything and the entire Nashville community could hear you say it and could, take it in, what would you say to them?
Well, what I say about it is that I know COVID's about to end. This is going to be 2021. Everything's going to be back open again. We're going to have like the celebration of Culture Festival down in Centennial. Hopefully I see everybody there, see everybody eating, drinking, and have a good time. Because, 2020 and some of 2021 has not been the greatest because we're stuck at home, different issues with being at home, not be able to see people. Because, Asian people is all about celebration, celebrating their culture, celebrating their family. And I think that's what I miss. And I'm hoping that 2021 and 22 will open back up again and I can see everybody in person and just have a good time.
Thank you so much. And I think it is James or Prince Hang. I will transition to them. And thank you so much for answering the questions. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Granger. Did a
Thank
great
you.
job.
I believe,
Thank you so
thank you,
much.
Granger, for leading on these questions. Those are very smart and very valuable questions and answers from Officer Ha to everybody who will listen to this dialogue later. And I know, James, you have another hands-on, right? The practical prevention and self-protection techniques question to Officer.
I do have that question. So, Officer Ha, could you recommend some self-protection techniques and strategies for Asians to stay safe? With 2020 and 2021, many Asian Americans have been the victim of hate crimes. Asian Americans have been beaten, spit on, and insulted, with many people thinking that blaming them for the COVID-19. Could you recommend some self-protection techniques and strategies for Asians to stay safe?
Right. Well, what I suggest is that, mostly the elderlies and the older folks are the one that are the most vulnerable because they are appears to be weak to some people. So what I suggest is that if you have parents or grandparents that are older, and go with them, go with numbers, if they need to go grocery store, maybe have somebody go with them, things like that. And I know you can't do that all the time, but if you have somebody with them, help them out. Numbers are key when it comes to safety, right? If you go by yourself, you'd be more likely to, could be attacked. But if you're by yourself, there's different things that Asian people could do. Of course, take self-defense classes, learn on how to defend yourself. Those are key. If you're a female, there's things like pepper sprays they could use, have with them. The thing is, with all these things you have, and of course we have now for the adults and stuff like that, we have a thing called the permit, the permitless carry-on. You could carry, now in Tennessee, starting July, you actually carry a gun. But however, for the adults that are able to carry, what I suggest is that you need to go take classes. Learn how to carry your gun properly, learn how to use it, because, it's not good if you have it, you don't know how to use it, don't know when to use. Make sure you learn about all the laws though, okay? Know when you could use it and when not to use it, because you can't just pull your gun on somebody because somebody yelling at you, okay? If you gotta be in a situation where you think that you're in fear of death or bodily harm, that's the only time you could use a weapon here in Tennessee. So know your law, know how to use it, take a class, and protect yourself and your family that way. But also, it's also important if you do go in the route of having a handgun, make sure you keep it safe, meaning that right now we have a large number here in Nashville of stolen guns and vehicles. I think the number now is at 532 to be exact, as far as how many handguns has been stolen from vehicles. So it's important that if your parents or anybody are carrying guns now, make sure they do not leave in the car when they go anywhere. Leave in a car, leave it at home, leave the gun in the car while they're at home. Take that gun, secure it, do not leave in a car. Also, if they have it at home, make sure they store it in a proper place, like a safe, a lock on it. Recently, we had a 5-year-old kid in Goodlettsville got a hold of their parents' gun and shot himself by accident and got a kill. So some of these things, tools that can help keep you safe, but also we have to be responsible when we have these tools.
If you're an able-bodied adult and you're skilled both in firearms and self-defense classes, which one would you say is a better pick for defending yourself? A firearm or self-defense such as martial arts, which do not involve firearms or knives?
Right. I just think it depends on the person. You know, a lot of times what I suggest that people need to do is try to avoid the situation if you can. A lot of times people will egg you, get on you and try to provoke you, call you names and stuff like that. If you cannot avoid the situation, ask for help and things like that, then all by means use every necessary thing to protect yourself and your family. Okay. If you're trained in martial arts or have pepper spray or have a handgun, make sure you know how to use it properly. Make sure you understand what your rights and law is when you use these things. Okay. You can't just pull out a gun and start shooting people because you think that they did something. That make sure you know exact rule and law when it comes to using firearm or any type of deadly force. Even with, say, brass knuckle, okay? If you use that in a way where you just hit somebody from behind and knock them out and they die from that, you or somebody that could be charged with for the death of that person. So like I said, take classes, learn the law, know what you need to do to protect yourself in the proper right way. And that's why it's good. That's why we need to have training. That's why we need to have classes to teach the Asian community what you could do to protect yourself in the right way. Knowing is just half the battle. I think that's what they say in some kind of movie. So you got to know what you need to do, have the right proper equipment, and then I think that will help you be safe.
And another question of mine is, are there certain areas in the Greater Nashville area that you should try to avoid, and certain times of day you should try not to be outside?
I mean, that's a good answer and question. I mean, what you could do is in Nashville, we have a thing called the map crime. You could go on there and you could check to see where all the crimes are occurring here in Davidson County. And if you see any of those areas where you have a lot of robberies, a lot of shootings, a lot of assault, I would say probably avoid those areas. Okay. Now, a lot of things not a lot of good thing happens after midnight, right? So a lot of times you probably might not need to be outside during that period of time. But the thing is, just because you live in a gated community don't mean your community is safe, right? Anything can happen anywhere. You just got to be prepared and be alert at all times. So just be alert and prepare in any location here in Nashville. But if you really want to know where the crime is, you can look up to the map, the crime map that they have through the local MNPD. And they can show you all the areas where there's burglaries, robberies, all the major crimes, and even just theft too. So, and then that can help you answer that question.
Thank you for answering my question, Dr. Ha.
Oh, that's well, I didn't expect that. See the both of them ask really good questions. And here comes my last question, maybe perhaps last question of this session is, since both of our interviewers, they are considered as youth, right? Asian youth and next generation. What might be your suggestion on how Asian youth population can help enhance the community safety with the Metro?
Oh, absolutely. Because the youth, the Asian community is our future. You know, they're going to be doctors, lawyers, and they see what's going on with the community. They have all these different technologies that they use now, right? You guys have all these media, social media stuff, so it's Facebooks, Instagram, and all these things that they see and learn. So they have a lot of knowledge that we could use by just listening to the youth, because a lot of things that I get is from the youth telling me about what's happening, what's the latest, greatest fad of what's going on. I mean, the youth is the key of what our Nashville is going to be. So like James and Granger, you could tell they're very smart kids. They ask excellent questions, and that's what they need to do. They can help out the Asian community by keep doing that, asking these questions. So that way, in turn, they could take that back and help out their own community on how to solve things by asking questions to me like that, so they could bring it back. Yes.
Great. I think that's the benefit of involving the youth to this session. And once again, I think we are right on the timing, I think. And here comes to my last question. We again very much appreciate all the answers from Metro standpoint from you, officer. And also I would want to extend my appreciation to both of the youth volunteers, Granger and James here, for joining me and for joining us. And we will publish this session on YouTube, GNCA official YouTube account. And I look forward to reviewing with the entire session and benefiting the entire community then. Thank you again for joining me.
I want to thank Prince for setting this up, and I'd like to thank James and Granger. Excellent questions. I have no doubt that you two are going to be somebody big one day. I mean, I know y'all gonna be y'all have a great, bright future. So good luck with everything. And I want to do this more often because I mean, just hearing the perspective from the youth, because it's different when I was younger, because now they're a different generation. They have sharp minds. They got good ideas, and that's what we need. But thank you.
Yep. Definitely, GNCA will arrange future sessions with Metro to get more training sessions and the knowledge sharing sessions, maybe community safety enhancement sessions as well. We can improve our community safety together.
Yes.
All right. So session is now concluded.